Everyone has a story to tell. It's my mission to tell it. Unscripted, unedited, we are on the record.
Hi everyone, I'm Sarina Fazan, producer, journalist, and the host of On the Record. Thank you so much for joining us. Boy, what a show we have for you today. A very special guest joining us from Las Vegas. From incarceration to world-renowned chef, author, TV personality. Please help me welcome Chef Jeff Henderson. Hi, Chef Jeff, how are you?
Hi, good. Great morning. Great morning.
Thank you so much for joining us. It's pretty early in Las Vegas.
Yes, it is. But, it's great to be here. It's great to be alive. It's great to be healthy. It's just great to be in the position of making a difference,
Absolutely. And we're actually going to meet later on this month in 2022. You're actually coming to Tampa. Tell us about why you're coming here.
Well, I'm coming here to speak and to inspire underserved people with Career Source Tampa Bay. After my incarceration from prison, I started giving back, helping people transform their lives. And through our nonprofit, the Chef Project, we have developed a workforce development and pre-employment training program. And so I'm hoping to come out there with my message to inspire hope and transformation and so many people who have been stuck in life and who need a second, third, and fourth chance at employment opportunities and things like that.
Well, I am very excited to meet you in person because I'm the MC of that amazing event. So we'll be able to see each other, there. But I wanted you on the show prior to coming for you to share your story more in depth and your message. And if you don't mind just telling us first, I know we talked about at the beginning of the show, I said, you were incarcerated behind, you were in federal prison. In 1988, right, was when you went to federal prison. Can you tell us what happened?
Well, like many young people of color or anyone who grows up under adverse childhood experience, meaning single parent home, a child of incarcerated parents, on government assistance, not having the role models in impoverished communities, those circumstances begin to shape the outcomes of our dreams and where we want to go in life. And myself, like tens of thousands of people across this country, got involved with drugs in the early 1980s. A part of my life that I'm not proud of, that eventually led to incarceration for nearly a decade of my life. And, so sometimes when you have those setbacks, that is the foundation for the comeback. But prison worked for me. It gave me time to figure out who I was, what my gifts were, and allowed me to revamp my own dreams. And in prison is where I found cooking.
Well, you certainly are a role model. In fact, right now, I want to take a video that highlights your life, and let's play the video and then we'll talk after.
Okay.
What's really profound for me about this next story of Jeff Henderson is that it's never too late to have a wake-up call, and that all life is about growing to be who you were most meant to be, the best version of yourself, and that even if it takes a disaster in your life, there's always time until you take your last breath to recognize that you have the power.
He's America's fastest rising celebrity chef.
Master Chef Jeff Henderson, the author of Chef Jeff Cooks.
Thank you.
His best-selling books are earning him national attention.
New York Times best-selling author, Chef Jeff Henderson.
His motivational appearances draw thousands of followers.
Doesn't matter who you are. Doesn't matter where you come from. Is it were you willing to put in the work to get there?
USA Today calls him the high-profile chef to watch.
What is the most important thing you think you learned about yourself? Why do you think you made it?
I made it because I had a dream. I said to myself that I want to be a chef someday.
And now, millions of TV viewers across the country are getting a taste of Chef Jeff's dream come true.
Hi, I'm Chef Jeff, and today we're making an amazing, healthy crab cake. We got to start off first with some fresh crab meat and about 2 tablespoons of roasted red bell peppers. Couple tablespoons of red onion, and a little bit of cilantro. Here's the light sour cream. I'm gonna put the 2 eggs in here. So I'm gonna go right in here with that crab cake. Woo, you hear it sizzling, you hear it talking to you. There we have healthy crab cake. I'm Chef Jeff, and I'll see you next time.
Finally tonight, our person of the week. He's an ex-convict who's the first to tell you he is not proud of his early years.
I truly believe it's my calling to touch the lives of people who feel they have no hope or have no potential to be successful.
And then a hero comes along with the strength to carry on, and you cast your fears aside, and you know you can't survive. So when you feel like hope is gone, look inside you and be strong, and you'll finally see the truth, that a hero lies in you.
You changed my life, man.
Sometimes I get a good feeling, yeah. I get a feeling that I never had before. No, I get a good feeling, yeah.
Wow, Chef Jeff, I had goosebumps every time I watch it because it's so inspiring. And what Oprah Winfrey said at the very beginning, that no matter what, there is still time to make a difference. And you have proven that.
Yes. It's been an extraordinary journey. I never imagined in my lifetime that my value systems would ever shift, and where I begin to value family, value community, and value education. Surviving poverty, surviving nearly a decade of my life in the darkest place on earth, and coming out of prison with the tools that I honed in prison, the skills, and to become a successful chef. I never sought celebrity chefdom. I've never sought authorship, television personality, any of those things, public speaking. It just came, a guy came to me in 2007 from New York and said, "Chef, we love your story. Would you want to write a book?" I said, "Sure." Next thing you know, Oprah producers called and says, "We want Chef Jeff on the show." After that, Sony Columbia Pictures called, and it was Will Smith on the phone personally who called me and wanted to meet me and turn my life story into a motion picture film. And then next came the Food Network and television shows and speaking opportunities. And so after all these years, I realize now that Oprah interview was really about giving me a platform to go back into adverse communities across this country and here in Las Vegas, to make a difference, to use my story, to use the strategies that I use to overcome a criminal lifestyle, to be on a pathway to the middle class. And at the core of my teachings and what I bring to folks who are in adverse situations today, and what I'll be bringing to Tampa, is that we all have a gift. God gave us all a gift. And no matter who you are, no matter where you come from, that gift must be developed. And the gift is what you're supposed to be doing in life. And I say, if I can do it, you can do it. I mean, I have a prison high school diploma. I learned to cook in prison. I learned to read in prison. I read my first book in prison. I was told I was smart for the first time in prison. So it can be done. It's just the mindset. How do you shift that mindset?
And there's so much to the story and there's so many questions we have on how this passion for cooking began. But why don't we go to a break and then we'll talk about that.
Okay.
You use maps for travel, but did you know there's mapping for your skin? It's called Visia Skin Analysis.
Above average, that's pretty good.
Here's why I used it at South Tampa Dermatology. It scans your skin for sun damage and wrinkles. You can see how your skin compares with others in your age group. Why is this important?
So here's what we'll do.
It can target a treatment program to meet your needs and save your skin over time. Another reason why I rely on the dream team at South Tampa Dermatology.
I'm Sarina Fazan, a journalist, producer, and podcast host.
With a background in television news, I know how much time and talent it takes to produce a broadcast quality production. But no more. Red House Streaming offers a simple, cost-effective method for capturing live action and streaming it in real time to YouTube, Facebook, or any other website. From single camera shoots or multi-camera productions, conventional or virtual sets, and from the state-of-the-art Red House Streaming Studios to remote locations, the professional crew at Red House Streaming, backed by the technology and reputation of CP Communications, allows you to produce more content at a lower cost and with little to no engineering required. That's why my podcast, On the Record with Sarina Fazan, is streamed live from the Red House Streaming Studios each week. Contact Red House Streaming today at 800-762-4254 or online at cpcoms.com to learn more. I'll see you in the studio. Chef Jeff, oh my gosh, yes. I can't even tell you. I keep on thinking about that video we played before the commercial break and everything you've accomplished. I have so many questions though. So when you first went to prison in 1988, I mean, I can only imagine what you were feeling. When you went in, how did the cooking start? Where did you find the passion to cook, and how did that begin?
Well, you know, it's interesting. I never sought out to be a chef. I never worked in culinary arts before. And, you know, media over the years have always said it was a power of food that transformed Chef Jeff's life. And that's, there is a lot of truth to that. But before the cooking piece came, I had to understand how I became criminalized as a young boy. And I had to focus on that decriminalization process, which came through education, reading history, being mentored by elders in prison, and finding my way. And then one day I got in trouble in prison, and the punishment was the hole, which is solitary confinement for a couple of weeks from an infraction. And after I got out of the solitary confinement, I was punished by put on the pot and pan detail in the kitchen. And where other inmates saw punishment, I saw an opportunity. You got inmates who worked in the prison kitchen, got to eat better than the rest of the inmates. You got extra food, and which was good because food is the most important thing in the day, is that 3 meals, breakfast, lunch, and dinner. And then I started helping the guys in the prison kitchen, and I got really good. And when the head cook went home, Mr. Womack, they promoted me to the head inmate cook, and the rest, they say, is history. So food found me, actually. I didn't hunt for it. I didn't think about it as a career. Through punishment, I discovered a love and a hidden talent for cooking and leading diverse teams.
I loved what you said, like you looked for the silver lining. When did that happen, though? How many years were you in prison when you got in trouble and put in the hole, as they say?
Yes. Well, it was about maybe 3.5 years into my sentence that food discovered me. And it was through culinary arts that really, and food service, that really gave me the belief that I can become somebody other than a drug dealer, that I had the potential to build a career that would put me on a pathway to earning a livable wage once released, and eventually on a pathway to the middle class. And that was important to me, my freedom, starting a family, but most of all, changing my narrative, my legacy. You know, my parents were able to finally see their son doing something that was positive in life, and along with my son, Jamar.
So when you got out in 1996, right? 1996, yes. How old were you at the time?
I was, I believe, like 32.
So 32.
At the time. Yes.
Wow. And you know, the recidivism rate is very high, as you and I both know, of going back to prison, unfortunately, in many
yes.
cases. But when you got out, you had these cooking skills. What did you do from there? What was your first job?
Well, the first thing for me was to build a relationship with chefs in restaurants and hotels that will look beyond my record, but give me an opportunity to develop my skill set. And so when I was in prison, I read an article in the USA Today about some of the top Black chefs in the country. And there was a chef by the name of Robert Gatsby who had worked for Thomas Keller, Joe Robuchon, and Alan Ducasse, who traveled the world. And I began to write him letters from prison. And once I was released, I made my way to his restaurant in Beverly Hills. And it took me a couple of weeks to convince him to give me a shot at developing my career. And he brought me in as a dishwasher, eventually and a janitor. And he began to teach me California French cuisine. And then I began to develop and really understand the different flavor profiles and cuisines that were foreign to me. And after that, I left Robert Gatsby and went to work for the Marriott Hotel Group, Holiday Inn, Ritz-Carlton, and eventually came to Las Vegas in the year 2001. And I set my eyes on the big casinos like the Caesars Palace and the Bellagio.
When this is such an inspiring story, and talk about perseverance and determination paying off. When you wrote to Robert Gatsby in prison, did he ever write to you back?
No, he didn't. And we laugh about that today. And I said, Chef, I was really looking for a letter back from you. And he says, you know, who hires people coming out of prison, especially in an upscale restaurant? He said, but what made me believe in you was your resiliency. When you first came to me, when you got out, I didn't hire you right away, but you visited the restaurant every week. And I was persistent and I never gave up. And, you know, it's funny because so many people give up when they come out of prison. So many people in prison don't develop themselves personally and professionally and learn skills. And so that's why the recidivism rate is so high. And so it was important to make those adjustments. You know, I had to learn middle-class values. I had to literally change the way I walk, the way I talk, how I communicated, even the clothes I even wore. I had to learn to smile. You know, I had to stop lifting weights. I was buff when I came home from prison, and I looked a little intimidating. So investing in my grill, you know, I had to change my prison Clark Kent glasses to some upscale eyewear in order to fit into a culture in a society that normally doesn't give folks like who I used to be a second chance. This is why it's so important with Career Source Tampa Bay, is to bring a powerful message like that really uplifts people and convince them that you can make it. You can carve out your own version of the American dream through resiliency, mental toughness, and ability to pivot.
But Chef Jeff, how did you do it? I mean, how did you do it? But you're right, because we talked about the recidivism rate, and we talked about, like, you have to change change your whole life. How do you do it? I mean, is it the mindset? How did you do it? When it's so easy to give up.
Yeah, it's definitely a mindset. I mean, there's no magic wand to change. You know, how the world really works is about really getting access. And I tell people who come from out of the system and through workforce development programs and agencies across the country is never chase money. I never chase money. You know, you chase relationships. Relationships lead to opportunities. Opportunities lead to making money. And we do need money coming out of the prison. But the mindset has to be right for someone to embrace you, to give you access. It's all about accessibility. And so I knew that I had to build a personal brand. I had to build a brand that people didn't raise the red flag. And, you know, there's lots of biases and unconscious biases about especially Black and brown males who come from the inner city. Those biases include folks coming out of the prison system because of the stigmas. And so I had to really deflect all of that and through code switching. You know, I had to clean shave my face. You know, I had to role play to some degree in order to get through the back door. And that's what I had to do, because going back to prison was not an option for me. Being successful and being a role model was the key, you know, to the future.
Well, you certainly have done that. Before we talk about your big celebrity break, I want to share another video about your life. So why don't we take a look at that?
Okay.
What are you doing here? Stop it! Why are you here? Is there anyone with you? No, just my baby. 911. Yes, I believe that there is a student here with a gun. He was shot out of window. I believe one person.
He's an ex-convict who's the first to tell you he is not proud of his early years.
Me and my sister pretty much took care of ourselves. I grew up in a neighborhood just like this one here. A lot of poverty, abandoned homes, people sleeping in cars, dealers hanging out on the corners.
Arrested for theft at 15 years old, it wasn't long before Jeff says he started selling marijuana and crack cocaine.
I was making up to $35,000 a week, and I'm sure at least $4, $5, $6 million went through my hands.
But Jeff's high-rolling lifestyle came to an end. Federal agents raided his home and arrested him. He was convicted for drug trafficking and conspiracy.
When I first went to prison, I pretty much felt that I was done. I was finished.
It's never too late to have a wake-up call. There's always time to recognize that you have the power.
I began to accept responsibility for my past. And when I went to prison and I was experimenting with food and putting out great pastries and entrees and stuff, people were like, wow, Jeff in the kitchen today.
From the prison yard to the Las Vegas Strip.
Food is one of the most important things to a person who is incarcerated.
Chef Jeff's journey has been anything but ordinary.
Prison saved my life. You know, I was rescued from the streets. But I hope these young people can make the change in their life in society today without having to go to prison and take that journey that I had to take.
He became the first African-American executive chef at Cafe Bellagio.
You know, I had to straighten up the way I walk. You know, I had to clean shave my face.
Is a New York Times best-selling author, former star of the Food Network's The Chef Jeff Project, and today is the host of the nationally syndicated television show, Flip My Food.
Hi, I'm Chef Jeff, and welcome to Flip My Food.
This is one of the better guys in the business and one of the top chefs in the country today. I gotta tell you, what a great story.
Jeff Henderson.
Welcome, Chef Jeff.
Your story is so amazing, and you have the nicest smile, by the way. You light up a room.
Thank you.
For sure.
Thank you.
All right, so Chef Jeff, let's talk about from the prison yard to the Las Vegas Strip. So when did you first get noticed, or when did the break occur, as they say?
Well, you know, I had to put a lot of work in. You know, the promo reel here and how my story is told throughout the media, it seems like it was easy and a walk in the park. It was a grind. It was a sacrifice. I endured a lot of adversities, a lot of doors closed. I always had to work harder, faster, and be smarter than the guy next to me because I had no culinary degree. And so there were times that I had thought about giving up because I hit that glass ceiling. But when Oprah told me when I sat on her couch, it's never too late until you take your last breath, that stuck with me over all these years of doing the things that I've done. And, you know, I always tell people, you know, let your work speak for yourself. And I just did all the right things. You know, I stayed focused. I took care of my family. I paid it forward in the community. And I worked extremely hard at Caesar's Palace, the Hard Rock Hotel, and at the Bellagio. And, you know, when you pray for something big in your life, when you pray for clarity, and when God delivers that, you got to be ready. And when the phone started ringing in 2007 from a literary agent in New York who wanted to tell my story through a book. And after I wrote that book, and then Oprah, then the movie deal, then Food Network television deals, public speaking, consulting, spokespersonship deals just came, I never chased them. I've never had a manager. I've never had a personal assistant. These people just came into my life. But after all these years, I realized it never was about me. It never was about celebrityism. It was really about getting the story of how I decriminalized and discovered my gift in a very dark place, in a very dark moment in my life. And I clung to hope, and I fought, and I believed, and I was resilient. And so that is the Chef Jeff story, is how I was able to go from here to hear. And to be able to have that platform to travel this country and to travel the world, to share my story and the story of others of redemption and transformation has been the biggest blessing and honor that anyone, especially a guy like me who did a lot of damage on the street. I put a lot of cocaine on the streets here in the 1980s. A part of my life I'm not proud of. I was a criminal influencer. I was a co-architect on the modern day mass incarceration. You know, I'm 57 years of age, and to be out of prison now 25 years is an extreme blessing to have survived. So I'm really in the space that I'm supposed to be in. And when I begin to question my own self, I really don't believe that I was really supposed to be a chef. I mean, this was just a roadmap to create the master recipes and the formulas to help individuals change their lives around through workforce development and pre-employment training. And so that's the key, is making sure people coming out of the system, people who are from underserved populations, learn some skill sets and be able to figure out what their greatest strengths are and how do they parlay that in to a middle-class lifestyle and earning livable wages. And that's my lifelong mission. It's something I'll be doing for the rest of my life.
Well, you certainly have a lot to be proud of right now, that is for sure. So it was that literary agent that found you first. And how did they find you? Was it through those promo reels you said that you worked hard to put together? How did they find you in the first place?
You know, it's funny because those I never know what a promo reel was back then. It was way before. You know, a restaurant group invited me to New Orleans to share my story with restaurant workers. And they posted it on the internet. And so this literary agent, Mike Saltis, he just was on the internet. And there was a chef, Arthur, Karen Page and Andrew Dunningberg, who wrote a book called Becoming a Chef. And they interviewed me at this conference. And so Mike, at the literary agent, he only does chef books, culinary books. And he found me on the internet, surfing the internet. And he was blown away from what he heard. And he says, we got to turn this guy's story into a book. And so he cold called me at the Bellagio when I was executive chef at Cafe Bellagio. And he asked me, could he help me do it? And I said, sure, why not? He flew out to Las Vegas and we wrote a proposal. He said, I'll call you back if I get some traction in New York. And he went back to New York and he shopped the book, concept, cooked from the streets to the stove. At that time, it was called From Cocaine to Foie Gras, One Man's Journey. And the book went into auction. Every big top-notch publishing house in New York went into a bidding war to tell my story. It's like all of this was happening right before my eyes. And it was like crazy. It was like unbelievable. Like, why are so many people interested in me? I'm an ex-convict. I'm formerly incarcerated. But it wasn't ever about me. It was about how I did it. And people wanted that formula. Agencies and organizations wanted the formula. And so I had to dig deep inside and put the Chef Jeff model together. You know, how did I do it? Step 1, step 2, step 3. And I was able to put that in a collection of several books. You know, my book Cooked is my memoirs, my life story. And I wrote another book called If You Can See It, You Can Be It, the 12 Street Smart Recipes for Success. And that was the blueprint of achieving success, building wealth, changing your legacy and your own narrative for underserved people, the have-nots. And how do you live your dream? How do you become who you're supposed to be? And I brain dumped all of that into that masterpiece of work, which really started to become attractive to workforce development agencies all across the country. And so I'm living a dream, you know. I'm so excited, you know, about life. I'm just happy to be alive, to be telling you. I should have been dead a long time ago. I mean, the things that I was involved in. You know, I never was a violent person. I never carried weapons. I never was involved with gangs. I never used drugs ever in my life. Wow. You know, I was a young entrepreneur. I was an entrepreneur. And I was always gifted and talented. It's just that I criminalized those gifts and talents that I had as a kid. I used to be the #1 newspaper boy. I had a candy selling business, a landscape business. I was always hustling, trying to make ends meet to help my mom, my sister, and get the things that I wanted in life. And through some poor decision making, led to my criminalization, eventually my incarceration.
Isn't that something, though? I had no idea. So you never even used drugs yourself?
Never used drugs in my life. I don't know marijuana, cocaine, heroin, pop pills, anything. I went into the drug business as launching a business. And so the leadership, the marketing, the managing skills were developed young. When you talk about managing diverse workforce, I managed dangerous people on the street. I had a sales team of people who used to sell drugs for me. I had to market that product. I had to figure out strategies how to corner the drug market in my own community. A part of my life, once again, on the record here, that I'm not proud of. But those business strategies were developed very young. Again, when I was in prison, a Wall Street guy who was a mentor to me told me that, I was smart. He says that I had all the business traits and understood how business worked as us upper middle class, wealthy white men. And he said, Jeff, all you have to do is change the product and builds integrity and character. You can be successful at anything. So that model and that mindset was something that I carried with me. That was my aha moment in prison when he said that to me, and that I was no different from them. The only difference was the product and how I conduct business. And so that has been my motto ever since I was a youngster on the streets and throughout my time in federal prison.
And I know you have said you don't excuse what you did and you take responsibility. But I do think it's important to note when you mentioned that you were trying to provide a life for your mom and your sister.
My sister, yes. Yes. And when you look at young people, especially young people of color, what drives that hustle mentality, what drives that criminal thinking is that desire to put food on the table. And when you never experience those life tragedies and circumstances, it's very hard to comprehend when somebody commits a crime. You have habitual criminals or people who just thrive off of crime, but then you have survivalists who start committing crimes in order to support their family, support the single mother, and put food on the table. And I'm not making excuses or justifying that, because a lot of people come from poverty and adverse childhood experiences who never became criminalized. But when you're put in a position when you have to make a choice, when your mother comes home and drink herself to sleep at night, and you hear her on the phone negotiating with the rent man, and when there's one piece of meat and your mother slices that piece of meat and shares it with your sister and yourself, that begins to drive by any means necessary to help your mother out in the mindset of so many young men, and so we have to be better at how we educate and how we influence our young people on the streets. And there's so many influences out there that shape the thinking and the mindset of our young people, young boys and girls, that lead to the prison system. This is the prison system, the criminal system, justice system is $182 billion industry. $182 billion industries. There are so many businesses and government agencies that thrive and and folks make a living off of crime. And so you have to ask yourself at some point, do society really want to stop crime? With drugs coming in this country, loopholes for fraud and embezzlement, the influences and things like that, we just can't no longer be tricked into thinking that a criminal entrepreneurship is the way, because the ultimate end results of choosing that lifestyle is prison, is death. it's mayhem. And I just thank God that I made it through. And I'm able and in a position and have the platform to try to make a difference and steer these young people who are from underserved communities in the right direction. And so I'm just so excited to be coming to your community to bring my message and best practices on how to turn lemons into lemonade.
Well, we are so excited to meet you, and I just want to thank you so much for coming on the record and sharing your story. There's so many more questions I have, so that means I think you may have to come back on the show after we meet in person.
Yes, and we can cook a little something up too. Cooking up hope, I call it.
Oh, cooking up hope. I love it. And some people have something to eat to live. I live to eat. So I'm going to hold you to that, Chef Jeff, for sure.
Yeah. I eat to live, but I'm trying to start to eat. I eat that I enjoy, but now I have to start eating to live. I'm getting older now, and I got to quit eating my own product as well.
Oh my gosh! Well, you are amazing. Seriously, don't mean a pun on words, but so much food for thought. Honestly, so much food for thought. You're so inspiring. Again, I cannot wait to meet you in person, and I can't wait to have you back on the show.
Yes. I'll be there January the 10th, ready to rock and roll.
All right, I'll be ready to rock and roll with you. Thank you so much, Chef Jeff. And thank you.
Take care.
Thank you. You too. And thank you, everyone, so much for watching. You can follow me on multiple platforms, and please share this story because this story is really remarkable. I mean, so many great points that Chef Jeff made. And once again, he's going to be in Tampa on January the 10th. I'll be emceeing the event for Career Source Vision 2022 and hopefully a follow-up show with some cooking involved. Stay safe, everyone. Have a great week.